Now, I know a lot of what I'm going to talk about today stems from what happened on Saturday in the Xfinity Series race at the Roval, but I think that this kind of overarches NASCAR, honestly in general, but definitely this year in a lot of ways. And it's that NASCAR is consistently inconsistent, especially with how it calls races, how it enforces rules, and in all honesty, I think it probably gets really confusing for those who aren't in the loop all the time, those who aren't the complete diehard fan, and sometimes even diehard fans. So I just kind of want to look at some of this stuff today, starting, of course, with this Xfinity race. I'm going to say this. Overall, I thought the Xfinity race was a banger. I thought it was possibly an all-timer. I mean, you had this great racing throughout, some pretty hard racing, but all in all, clean. You had a great battle at the end with the 48, the 1, the 16, 97, Kligerman, Mayer, AJ Allmendinger, and SVG. And then you had a great story. Parker Kligerman, somebody who's had to claw his way through his career, who's had to get every bit of what he has because he earned it. He is on his way to what I would argue was an underdog victory. And then the finish happened. Leland Honeyman was buried in the tire barrier. And I don't want anyone blaming him for this. It happens. Flat tire, he can't help it. I know a lot of people are actually blaming him for that, and I just wonder how people can be that stupid. And then with that, it's on TV for a ton of time. And it's pretty clear a caution needs to come out. And the caution doesn't come out. And it doesn't come out. And it doesn't come out. And then it finally comes out right when the white flag is coming out, right when the 48 is just about to cross the line to seal the race for himself. And I gotta say this, race control. I mean, they claimed that there wasn't a good view. Even though it was on TV, even though, based on what some fans have said that were there, it was shown on the giant television screen that they brag about being the biggest in the country or the world or whatever it is. And I just don't buy it. I don't buy that they just didn't see it. Maybe it wasn't them paying attention. They said that there weren't enough people being able to watch that area of the track. But again, it's on television, and NASCAR has access to television cameras the same way that all of us do, and in a lot of ways that all of us don't get. And I just don't think that this should have been that long. If you're going to wait, then wait. If you're not going to wait, throw it immediately. And the fact that NBC's crew with CW could call this out, know it was there, and then it took NASCAR and those people in the booth and race control a good 30 seconds or so to call it. I mean, that is the difference between people's seasons, and you just can't screw that up. And we have seen constantly NASCAR, maybe unintentionally, putting their hands on the scale. Earlier this year at Indianapolis, we saw Kyle Larson cross the line, take the white flag, while we literally had, on the backstretch, a car that had no way of getting moving with Ryan Preece, with flat tires, and with that, not being able in any way to get moving. It was clear a caution was needed, even though the race was more or less decided as Kyle Larson was going to win that race. There's no other way around it. He was going to win Indianapolis with or without that caution. So that happens. Another one that people say this feels like, though, was 2022, the All-Star race. When Ryan Blaney goes to the line, caution comes out right before. NASCAR, never really clear about the rules, even though a lot of bootlickers will say they were, and says, wait, we got to finish this under green no matter what. Not something that in any way was relayed in the broadcast, nothing that was been relayed over time, and we end up having this complete cluster of a finish, and luckily Ryan Blaney at least gets the win. But a huge black eye on the sport for what was a pretty lackluster event. And it also kind of felt like 2015 Talladega. You know, the one where Joey Logano and Dale Earnhardt Jr. were going for the win, and ultimately Logano got it when NASCAR technically went by their rules, but changed the rules at the same time of one green-white checker at the end of the race they implemented for that one, and then turned around and said, well, it wasn't, and it was just really bad, in all honesty. It was confusing for fans, and just like all of those examples I brought up, this race not only confused them, but it pissed them off. And I don't blame them. NASCAR fans should be pissed by this because NASCAR has consistently become more sloppy with its calls. And in a lot of ways, you look at this and it's going to not only affect what happened in that race, but that affects the playoffs and that affects legacies. You see the constant tampering and changes to the season that these kind of hit or miss calls, ball and strike calls will make. Parker Kligerman, not only could he have moved on in the playoffs, I don't think he would win the championship or make the championship 4, but not only that, he would have had his only career win in this series, a series he's retiring from full-time driving from after this year. That's a legacy. He may never get a chance like that again. And if he doesn't get a win, that's going to be really big on his legacy to have that goose egg when he had the race in the bag and earned it, in all honesty. Kligerman retiring full-time after this year, yeah, he could maybe come back and get a win, but at the same time, he couldn't. And you look at the playoffs being in the balance for this one. The 48, the 1, and the 97 all were under a big playoff fight in this race. And there's others behind them that were too. That all could have been changed and made topsy-turvy because of a bad call. And if NASCAR is going to insist on having 3 race stints and then a 1 race stint call the championship, they need to be 100% on it. There cannot be all of this BS. There can't be these extra long cautions because they don't know exactly what they're calling. Or there don't need to be these cautions at the last second when it's pretty clear they should have been called beforehand. These things have consequences. And for a lot of fans, it's a huge hit to the legitimacy of the sport in another way. If you can't officiate this well, you need to get rid of the playoffs because it's too finicky at this point, especially in the lower levels, for you to mess this up. A smaller sample size can get poisoned very quickly for the championship. Entertainment over legitimacy, a lot of people will look at that. It just kind of feels like they almost held this for drama. I don't think they did, but it really feels like it. And I don't blame fans for questioning that because NASCAR has been in the entertainment and drama emphasizing business now for the good part of the last decade since getting this. And if you're NASCAR and you want to make sure you are legitimized with not only new fans, but your own fan base, you have to call this stuff correctly. And you can't continue to have these problems. And I'll finish on this. NASCAR fans are tired. They're sick of incompetence up there. They're sick of chaos being the big push. They're sick of just all of this. And they need NASCAR to, for once, just level it all out. Be consistent and keep their thumbs off the scales. Talk to former fans, and what will they tell you of why they didn't watch? It's BS like this. It's the quickest way to chase off fans, not only from NASCAR, but any sport, is the officiating to be so bad it distracts from the entirety of the competition. That cannot happen, and I hope NASCAR improves. I hope they get the people that need to be in certain places, or they have the certain cameras in certain places, or whatever it might be. However they have to, please improve on this, because it's hard sometimes being a NASCAR fan, knowing that a really great race like we saw on Saturday could be completely destroyed by one bad call. So with that, I'm going to pass it to you. How do you think NASCAR could improve on this? Less rules, simpler rules, more cameras? Go off in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like in this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more great and fun NASCAR content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support. And be sure to watch NWP tonight on Eric Estep's channel. We'll be joined by Ellie Productions. Should be a really fun night. So until then, have a good one.